right, I believe this means we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tech fans of all shapes and sorts and sizes and persuasions, welcome to another episode of the Monday Morning Tech Chat Show on the SGGQA podcast channel. I'm Juan Carlos Pagnell, aka Some Gadget Guy, the SGG of this terribly named podcast series. I think that's maybe the furthest I've gotten through in one breath in a while. Yeah, doing pretty good. Hey folks, I hope everybody out there had a great weekend. We're gonna jump into some tech chat, some tech news, but this is the last Monday of the month, the last Monday of August. We're through the bulk and the majority of summer vacations. My daughter's already back to school. She's a second grader now, and I was not ready for the summer to fly by this fast. So I hope everybody out there is doing well. We're gonna be into some screaming heat waves again. We survived a hurricane. The weather is getting really bad. Always, and again, with the crew that I know is watching this live and is catching the replays, I hope everybody out there is able to keep up with their own issues enough to also be able to look out for others. We've been checking in on neighbors. We've been talking to folks about sort of disaster prep strategies. We've been getting some great advice also from members in this condo community, and it's just right now is the time to not let the news get you too cynical, get you too down. It's the right time to reach out and kind of find those communities and find those good neighbors. So Brian Glaze, Juan's been hitting the cardio. So I am still the heaviest I've ever been in maybe my entire life, but I have been trying to get out. I've been riding the bikes a lot. And the cool thing about riding a big old huge heavy frame fat tire e-bike is most of the time I'm riding that bike, I'm not using the motor assist. So when you're trying to kick pedal start your 100-pound fat tire bicycle, like that's a pretty hardcore workout. Like it's like you're trying to ride a bike with ankle weights on. I still have a ways to go, but I'm also doing just sort of constant distress push-up regimens. So like every hour, it's like a certain percentage of my maximum number of push-ups. And right now, today, I have to take a window break for the podcast, but today is 15 push-ups and a minute-long plank every hour. So that sucks. That's really not fun. It's like after doing the push-ups, I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling good. My shoulders are all loosened up. My arms are feeling warm. Oh, now I gotta plank for a minute. Blech. I hate resistance exercises. Marie was like, hey, I know your knee's been bothering you. Why don't you do some wall sits and strengthen up? Oh God, wall sits? That was like a punishment in high school. Brian Glaze, my son is a second grader this year as well. I didn't realize our kids were so close in age. It's such a crazy age. She is becoming such a powerful little sassy personality, but I love seeing just the little social groups that she's forming and the experiences that she's having. I'm just constantly amazed. Oh, yeah, Lempros, this is true too. I mean, I am not discounting the benefits of exercise. Lempros says it's good to exercise your heart after all. I need to do that too. I mean, we have a sort of very underutilized fitness channel on the Patreon, and I need to be better at contributing to it. I am not getting my steps in. And like sort of the daily just sort of workouts and stuff that I'm doing are barely adequate to maintain. I'm not pushing it hard enough to start like losing weight and really getting in shape. So I need to live the life I'm advocating for others. I need to practice what I preach. So I'm off my normal pattern. Usually we're going through and, let's talk about housekeeping and all that stuff. Pajama Podcasts, we go wherever the chat wants to lead us. But this week I also want to spend some time just, if anyone would like to play some Tetris. Oh, I should share the link. So I have a J-Estris lobby set up. So this is a private lobby just for us. Hopefully that link actually makes it out to the chat. But while we talk about some of these stories, in between some of these stories, maybe we play a few rounds of J-Estris Tetris, and we'll see. We'll see. I haven't done like a public. I don't know if anyone in this chat likes to play Tetris. I have been playing Tetris since Tetris was invented. and I am adequate. I would consider myself like better than average. Not great, but you know, I can S tier a few of the Tetris effect challenges. So it's about as good as I go. But if anyone would like to join, or if anyone would like to jump in, we'll play a few rounds. This is public. I mean, if you want to just watch me play all by myself, we could do that too. But I think it's a lot more fun when other people jump in. So totally free. This isn't like Tetris Effect where you have to own the game, or Puyo Puyo Tetris where you've got to have that kind of client up. Plays in a web browser. If anyone needs the lobby code, we can do that. So, Shujin just joined the room. Excellent, good. So let's just wrap up this pattern, and then I'll flip over. I don't know if my screen share is gonna work very well. We'll have to see how all this gets set up. I'm gonna maximize this, and then if I need to, I can kind of make that bigger. But yeah, we're gonna be just real crazy, real loose this week, and I kind of need it. It's just been a lot throughout the summer. I was really expecting more downtime over the summer. That didn't really happen. So when we get to the Pajama Podcasts, boy howdy, I really need the Pajama Podcasts to be chill, non-structured conversation. Go Starscream. I wouldn't mind playing Tetris with you, but I'm organizing some of my 13,000 songs that need to be organized, unfortunately. I don't know about everybody else. I feel like everybody else in the chat, it feels like Ghost Starscream is making an excuse because he's afraid that he will lose. I mean, you could stop for a minute to organize some of those 13,000 songs. Those 13,000 songs aren't going anywhere. You know, Tetris is right now. So that's all I'm saying. If, you know, you were amenable to that. All right, McCorcoran. I think a number of folks want to jump in and start talking Asus. So do we want to start with that? I have one person in the room here, if anyone else wants to jump in. Why don't we tackle Ghost Starscream? It does work on mobile. Oh, Chujin just decided to play without me. All right, here, let's see if this screen share works. I'm going to give Chujin a couple block head start, and then I'm also going to make this a bit bigger. And then now I'm gonna pick up my controller. All right, here we're doing it. We're going. All right. Do. Oh, and the little sound effects are also fun and bleepy and bloopy. We'll do that. All right. Chujin got off to a good start, but I'm sending him some garbage now. I'm a little bit in trouble. Oh, there we go. We can get that back. This is really hard to think about talking about Asus. Oh no, I want to do... There we go. Good job, Chujin. That was a good game. Excellent good. All right, we got to get some other people in here. This starts getting real wacky when lots of people are sending garbage. Brian Glaze, I'm terrible at this. Is that you? Are you Chujin? Brian, that's me. Yeah, that is you. All right, Brian, that was great. All right, let me see if I can fix first up. I might need to just disable the chat. Yeah, so the chat overlay is gonna cover everything there unless I'm doing this live. Isn't that great? I'm real good at doing the tech live during a podcast. So let me see if I do this, and then I can kind of pull it to right there. That looks a little better. Okay, it says wait until the round ends. Oh, we just got two more. We got Bahunas and Solber joining the room also. Let's run another round of Tetris. While I can't read comments, while we're playing here, let me hear from folks. I mean, let's get a round of some comments going on. I am very upset about the news that Asus might be pulling the ZenFone out of their lineup. To me, this is almost as gutting as like an LG leaving the market. All right, let's hit new game. We've got 4 players now. I don't know how many we can get up to. So anyone else who would like to jump in and play also. Ooh, these are slippery. I haven't played Tetris in a while. Anyone else who would like to jump in, definitely, don't be shy. I'm obnoxiously competitive about Tetris, but I won't go easy on you. How about that? I got myself into a mess there. I got myself into a real mess there. All right, let's see if we can fix this. Whew. All right, clean that out a little. Put that. And also, if you have Tetris strategies, let me hear them. I am a justified Tetris player. So I get myself into a lot of trouble if I start climbing too high, because then I can't get I just messed that up. But I can drop that and clear that out. So if I start climbing too high, I run out of room to get a skinny block all the way down. But I like being able to build multiple, so I can do that. So you can drop like 2 tiers of garbage on people right back to back. And that's fun for me because I'm kind of a snotty player. During the pandemic, Marie and I would just like pour a bourbon and drink and play Tetris like all night long, just because we were so anxious about everything that was going on in the world. Good game, Solberg climbing up to 2nd place. Very nice, very, very nice. Whew. So, Dave Burns, you snotty? No, of course not. All right, let's go through some of these comments. Asus. So the news, as I understand it today, is that Asus is cutting back on some of their commercial division. So they're cutting some of the cash. They're pulling out of some of these markets, and it looks like some of the ZenFone team is going to get reassigned to other divisions within Asus, and some of the ZenFone team is going to end up at the ROG, on the ROG side. It doesn't sound like the ROG phone is going away, but it seems like ZenFone 10 might be the last year that we get a ZenFone. So that's it's really disappointing, because ZenFone 10 is one of the last smaller form factor premium tier phones. Oh, someone went go. So I guess here, I'm gonna just kind of slow play some of this. I tried to play here on my Z Fold 5. I'm split screening the stream and playing Tetris. That is very ambitious of you. It's especially bad for the North American market, which has so few options. It's the last 5.9-inch screen and one of the last flagships with a headphone jack. I think we start losing a lot of these features and of these benefits when these smaller players kind of get pushed out of the market. Let's see, yeah, we can just drop that in there. Ooh, someone sent me some garbage. Let's see, is that Asus's mainline phones or their gaming phones? So ROG phones are the main phone. ROG phones, there are Republic of Gamers. So when you see ROG, that is it's like a separate division within Asus that focuses on the most extreme gaming devices. And that's not what Zen is. And we can see the same thing. They have ROG laptops and they have like Zen books. I don't know if they're still called Zen books, but they have a Zen line for laptops. So this doesn't sound like it's going to disrupt their ROG line. So I just feel like, even though it's not totally the end of the Asus smartphone divisions, we're losing sort of their mainstream consumer option. And that to me is always a concern. Oh, Reaper Black. I mean, this is another thing that I'm really concerned about. Anything is expected nowadays. I wouldn't be surprised if Vivo and Xiaomi pull out of the smartphone market. Good stuff doesn't last forever. So I don't think they're going to leave. When it comes to Xiaomi and Vivo, Xiaomi is technically the third place smartphone manufacturer in the world. But if you look at the combined Vivo and Oppo, so Oppo, OnePlus, Vivo, the entire collection of, the entire collection. Sorry, I got distracted by Tetris. I still managed to pull out a win. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. This is really hard, like trying to podcast and and stream at the same time. I feel like hold on. I just for anyone who might understand the reference, I kind of feel a little like Rozelle. I'm doing the podcast and the Tetris stream at the same time. If your mother only knew. I'm not gonna harass you with with my terrible beatboxing. Sorry, I completely lost the plot on what I was saying at the end there. But I don't believe Vivo and Xiaomi are gonna pull, because Vivo plus Oppo is the second highest selling smartphone manufacturer. If you count BBK as one big umbrella, that's everything. But if you do individually, like if you rank individually, then it's Samsung, Apple, Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo. I think that's the breakdown of like the top 5 in the world. Someone's gonna have to correct my numbers on that. Brian Glaze, y'all took me out. Let me catch back up to the end of the chat. Vivo and Oppo are subsidiaries of BBK. So we always divide because BBK and Oppo are, Oppo and Vivo are pretty firewalled off. They are very separate entities, but they're still under the larger BBK umbrella. So I also just wanted, before we jump into another round here on JSTRIS, I have to go to JMan150, gifting a tier 1 sub to Baker Jeremy and Raymondit. Thank you so much, JMan150. And also, Baker Jeremy, Raymondit, I know I've seen some of those names in the chat and on the stream before, so thank you for dropping by. And JMan, always appreciate it. Really appreciate all the support lately on the subs and on these live streams. Brian Glaze, the man is flexing by beating us while talking about the news. JMan150, I can't believe I've been subbed for 14 months now. I really appreciate it. That is awesome of you. These kind of conversations tend to be really long-term for me. Kappa Cash is saying, now I want a ZenFone 10 to remember the last great small form factor phone. This is where we get into those disappointing moments where I feel like a bunch of techies are gonna go out and eulogize ZenFone 10 now. You know, like how many videos did we see, oh, we're so sad that LG is leaving the market, when literally like the last video they'd put out on LG was like how no one should ever buy this garbage. And I don't feel Asus has had anywhere near the same kind of impact as some of the other brands that have either sort of slow played or completely walked away from the smartphone market. Like Asus's impact on smartphones is nowhere near what LG, what their impact was on the modern Android smartphone. But it's still brutal to lose that. But I wonder, I mean, like, I feel like we techies, we live in our own little bias confirming bubble. I'm absolutely guilty of this too. Is this yet another data point to suggest that an expensive, smaller phone is going to have difficulty selling? Or do we feel like this is still more of an LG problem, that Asus is making all these phones and they're sending them out to all of these regions, but they're not telling anyone about the phones. So it doesn't matter if you can ship ZenFone 10 to the United States. You got a bunch of phones sitting in a warehouse with almost no marketing. Who's gonna buy those phones? So I'm kind of torn on this. I still feel in my heart of hearts that if LG had mounted more of a targeted feature advertising campaign for like the V50 and the V60, that they would probably still be making phones today as like a distant third place in the North American market, with Motorola right on their heels. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe at this point, the game is so carved up region per region per region, that marketing wouldn't make much of a difference. I feel like Google is good evidence that you can chip away, but it takes time. And so if Asus spent $500 million a year advertising ZenFone, after a couple years of that, they would have had a much stronger percentage of the North American market. Let's, if anyone else is still in here, let's do another game. And I'll slow play this one too. They always keep starting me out with these like Z shapes. No advertising and no focused buyers. Onscon says, I think it's 70% lack of advertising and 30% lack of demand. That's actually pretty strong, Onscon. In the US, ZenFone is not visible. People buy phones from their carriers, so if they aren't prioritized, no one buys them. I definitely agree with that sentiment. I think carriers have way too much influence over the North American market. Let me know in the chat also, would you prefer I disable the chat sidebar so that the screen is a little bit bigger? Just let me know. Right now, this is like me floating in a window with the Tetris screen up. It's, you know, it looks a little to me. If you're having a hard time seeing what's going on, I wouldn't blame you. Let's see. JGJ. Also, Motorola is not making any effort for long-term software support as well. I'm tempted to get the Stylus 5GM. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I thought that the Razr was their first phone that is now going to have an expanded, like, isn't it 3 years of operating system updates on the new Razr? I might have that completely wrong. So let me know how wrong I might have that. Raymond, none techs love the Velvet. None of the techs love the Velvet. A friend of mine has it and loves it. He's almost 80. And I'm not surprised. The Velvet, I think, stands as like the last great true feature complete mid-ranger. You look at all these mid-ranger phones that are insanely powerful, but there's less you can do with them. So where does all that power go? I don't understand this need for more and more power and performance. Oh, someone just sent me a bunch of garbage. All right, cool. Here, let's send some of it back. And we'll put that there. I'll drop that there. And we'll do that. And we'll send some more. Good round, Chujin, climbing up to second place. I know who sent me a Tetris. I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't watching. Someone sent me a bulk of garbage. It was a delightful little surprise to look over at the screen and then see like, oh, I've got something that I need to deal with. That was great. Carrier lock-in. Okay, Reaper Black, would you make a camera comparison between the Xiaomi 13 Ultra and Vivo X100 series when it's launched? The specs I read recently look awesome. I am a huge fan of the Vivo X series, so as soon as I can get my hands on an X100, that is, I think, going to be one of the best photography fights of the year. What I'm trying to do, and I don't know that I have the budget to put it all together in one fell swoop, so it might not be until later in the year, but I feel like the photography conversation hinges on Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo, and Sony. So if you really want to talk about the differences in the highest performing pocket cameras that you can get in the market today, those are the ones that I think, that's the quartet. And three of those are like 1-inch camera sensors with multiple sensors. The Sony is a very different kind of conversation, and I think is gonna trump all of them for video features. So it's kind of a big deal. We gotta see like what these companies bring out and how they iterate, because I was not expecting the Xiaomi 13 Ultra to take over as much of my production as it did. The Xiaomi 12 Ultra was such a huge upgrade for me over the Mi 11. I was expecting the 13 to be more iterative, and the 13 is now a completely different animal than the 12S Ultra. And the 12S Ultra is still a monster photography platform today. But I just saw Aditya Anil, new game. All right, let's go, Addy. I just want to kind of get off to a bit of a start here so that then we can chat a little bit more. Okay. I'm not doing any commentary here. I have no idea if Aditya Anil has been practicing. So I got to take him seriously as a competitor. See, this is where I get into trouble. So I need to be able to like drop more, because if I start climbing all the way up on the left-hand side, then uh-oh. See, yep. Now I've got to be real careful. Getting that down, getting that down. Someone just sent me garbage. I love it. See, I haven't even been able. Oh! I think that just took me out. Second place. Who got me? Who got me? Solberg. Good round. Dave Burns, what if I use a Tetris bot? I want AI to replace me. All right, we're gonna go another round here. Okay. Oh man, those always mess me up. Now I gotta be real careful. Oh, that helps though. So yeah, who in the chat here has been playing Tetris? To me, Tetris is like one of those near perfect reflex arcadey style games. It's the kind of now and forever. My mom and I, oh shoot, man, I did not want to do that. My mom and I have been battling Tetris like since, so what, Tetris came out in '88. So I was about 7 years old when I first started playing Tetris. I just gave myself a problem there. Oh, let me go there. And everyone has their own kind of style for how they think a good kind of round Tetris should go. My style is very Tetris heavy. So I'm always trying to create the next block for a full 4 lines at a time. But that regularly gets me into trouble when I have too much garbage. Perfect clear! I got a perfect clear! It doesn't do anything in this version of the game. It makes, when you're playing Tetris Effect or Puyo Puyo Tetris, there's like a big whenever you perfect clear like that. I don't do that very often. So that was a little proud of me moment. Again, I get real obnoxious about my board. Uh-oh. So once, and in JS they keep the rounds short, so after a point, it just starts feeding garbage so that you have to end the round so you can't play forever. Although someone sent me something, and I don't know if I'll be able to clear it out to get rid of it. Sulber, you're really climbing up. So we've got Kokumop, and we've got Aditya Anil Someone gave me 3/4 of the board worth of trash. Sorry, Addie. That was probably me. So yeah, sorry. We did back-to-back rounds, so I had no ability to kind of keep up. Brian Glaze, my wife played that time, and she did better. My wife cleared out 2 rows, so I think she contributed to your garbage. Nice. Well, get her to sign in. Like, she can play if she wants to play. Let her play. Let's see. I'm way behind on the chat. Barry Johnson, I play Tetris Attack. However, if I play Juan in Tetris, he will play against my AI. Evil laugh. Does someone have a Tetris bot? I've never played against a Tetris bot. So I just want to know how bad it would actually beat me as a moderately capable human being. You did very well that time, Brian Glaze. See, this is the thing about like a game like Tetris. It's not about whether or not you get curb stomped. It's a classic arcadey game. It's very reflex heavy. It's all about finding your flow. So even a very short period of time, if I'm talking and I'm looking at the board and I'm trying to do both at the same time, I'm only able to stage like a piece at a time. But especially with modern Tetris, where they give you the lineup of what's coming, you stop really looking at it all. You get to a point where you're really comfortable just kind of like, oh, there's a yellow color coming up. I know what that is, and I'm gonna drop that here. And you're not actively thinking about everything. The Tetris is such a beautiful flow state kind of game. There aren't a lot of games that I feel you really hit that sustained sort of flow state. Whenever I play Tetris Effect, I usually do one of the marathon runs. It's just, can you get up to 150 lines? And then you get graded on how fast you can clear 150 lines in Tetris. And by the end of a marathon line, my eyes have completely dried out because I'm blinking so infrequently, especially in the later, like once you get to those last 10 lines, the bricks are falling so fast, you see a glimpse of them at the top, and then you're juggling them at the bottom of the screen. It's like instant drop for the entire round. So you're not really thinking about it. You're just reacting as organically as you can. So I love it. I love it because it gets kind of intense, but then also like your brain is sort of somewhere else. McCorcoran 3, I don't think people consider a $900 phone mid-range. Quad HD screen, 12 gigabytes of RAM, 5x telephoto. That's better specs than an S23 Plus or an iPhone outside of the silicon performance. We need to sort of classify what it is that we want in a pocket computer. And then I don't think you can just broadly say $600 is mid-range, $500 is mid-range. I think $1,000 for foldable is sort of the middle of the expected foldable market. I would say $800, oh no, maybe like $700 is mid-ranger for a top tier, for a camera focused device. And see, that gets real messy. There are a lot of phones out there at like $400 or $500. Like I think they're very capable point and shoot kinds of cameras. You got a Pixel A series in there. Those are wonderful. But when we start talking about the more advanced photography features and video features and multiple camera sensors and stepping up in sensor size, you're starting to talk about $700, $800. Like mid-range now for a photography focused phone would almost be an X90 Pro. That is a lot of money. But that is sort of the midpoint of all of the phones that I feel really are trying to step up that photography focus. Gaming phones are totally different. You can actually walk back price a lot on gaming phones. So the Asus and ROG is sort of the crown jewel, most expensive gaming phone, but you've got some Pocos in there, you've got some other Xiaomi and Vivos in there. Got a lot of phones that are punching well above their price tag just for that mainstream graphics performance. So I feel like we fail if we only talk about phones as being overall one thing. There are phones, and phones go from $100 to $2,000. we don't talk about automobiles that way. We don't say there are automobile. An automobile go from $1,000 used in garbage to $2 million for a Bugatti. So I guess $1 million is a mid-range automobile because the most expensive automobile is $2 million. Obviously I'm way off there. Solber, X90 Pro mid-range, but it has Pro in the name. No, I'm saying the X90 Pro, when you look at what it sells for, the MSRP is on the higher side. It's like $899, I think, to start. Again, this all depends on region too. We can't say mid-range globally because some phones are ridiculously expensive in some regions and are more reasonable in others. But when I'm looking at the 1 terabyte Xiaomi 13 Ultra, and I'm purposely putting that up as like what I would consider to be the current top option for a photography focused phone. $1,300 for a Sony Xperia 1 Mark V. We're in a ballpark where camera focus and real good camera focus is somewhere around that price. And in some regions, you can pick up the X90 Pro at like $799. I've seen it on sale for a lot less. So we've got to sort of reframe what our market is based on the device. Some devices are going to be more mainstream, just sort of daily driver pocket computers. Some devices are going to be just purely multimedia streamers. Some devices are going to be productivity workhorses. Some are laptop replacements and tablet replacements. Like, we can't just say mid-ranger. Mid-ranger what? Mid-ranger productivity phone, mid-ranger foldable, mid-ranger photography phone. That's where now we can more granularly talk about, like, well, what is the expected performance for this amount of money? Because also when we start talking about foldables, they're the most expensive, but because of the way that you have to align the components, they will probably perform worse than a standard slate phone just for how they dispense heat, just for how they vent built up heat. So if you put an 8 Gen 2 or a Tensor 2 or a Dimensity in a foldable, you have a lot less surface area to really clear what that phone is doing. So it's not the same. Like, I wouldn't pit a foldable up against a top tier gaming phone. It's twice as expensive, but you're gonna get slightly worse performance. Dave Burns, but Juan, if I add too much nuance, how will I appease my evangelist audience? What about the average consumers? Did anyone catch? So Samsung is going to, this wasn't on my show notes, just any joke about evangelists and techies and average consumers. Samsung is changing how they report storage because at the beginning of the year, there was this whole kerfluffle about how system files were eating up like 80 gigabytes of storage on Samsung phones. Was it like 60 or was it like 80? Anyway. And a whole bunch of Samsung bootlickers came out and were like, no, you just don't understand how binary storage measurements work against decimal and base 10 storage units. Ugh, average consumers are so stupid. This is such a non-issue. And all of these reviewers who are so quick to frame their reviews as if they're talking to the average people, all the average people who own $1,000 phones, which that doesn't exist, especially not in Android land, suddenly throwing all those average people under the bus so they wouldn't have to criticize Samsung doing something clumsy. And I don't know if anyone else noticed that, but I thought it was hilarious. So now apparently in the new One UI beta, Samsung has moved back to reporting storage in gigabytes instead of gigabytes. Is it gigabytes or gigabytes? Anyway, so they walked back from reporting storage in binary, which is actually correct. That's if the phone uses a file system, you should report the storage how the phone sees it. It's also why you plug a new hard drive into your computer and the hard drive on the outside of the box said 100 gigabyte, or I should say a terabyte, but then you plug it into your PC and it's like 900 gig, right? If you're a techie, you understand that the marketing department is kind of lying because your computer organizes and reports storage in a different way than a marketing department markets that storage. So causes all kinds of consumer confusion. To this day, people buy this stuff and then go, but wait, how come I'm missing so many how many gigabytes? I bought a terabyte and now I don't have 1,000 gigabytes and the computer is lying to me. Is it Windows? Did Windows steal my gigabytes? But all of these phone reviewers, no, so quick to defend Samsung and blame user ignorance for not understanding this stuff when they've never contributed to this conversation to help educate consumers. And Samsung did something that looked real shady. And why were people upset? Because Samsung has done decades of really shady stuff. I mean, like, why would we be surprised that people did not have the kindest interpretation of Samsung making that move? And really what it comes down to is we still need to have this conversation. And I think we should now move beyond advertising gigabytes and tebibytes. I think we need to go a step further and say you are not allowed to market storage unless it's the actual user accessible storage. You can't put 512 gigabytes on the side of the box unless I, as the consumer, actually get 512 gigabytes of storage to play with. I think that is now becoming a truth in advertising. That is an anti-consumer marketing practice. It grossly misrepresents what the consumer is really buying. They go in with expectations, they're disappointed. I feel like we need to even take this a step further. So if you've got 30 gig, I mean, what is the Galaxy S23 has something like 20 gig of system files and then immediately builds like a 10 gigabyte cache. So if you bought 128 gig Galaxy S23, immediately your file system is going to report that you've got like 100 gigabyte phone, and then you're going to lose like 20 gig right off the top. So your 128 gigabyte phone is now more like a 90 gig user accessible storage device, and you can't upgrade it. So in a world where I could have popped in a memory card, I don't think this would have been as precious. If I want to buy a 512 gig card just for all my media, for downloading Netflix videos, for music files and FLAC and like all that, or for my camera roll. So I want to, like I do on my Sonys, I back up everything on a memory card on my Xperia. So I've got a ton of extra storage that I can pull real quick. Great. But now you're charging me even more for internal upgrades, and you're not even reporting how much storage I'll really have. So that to me is kind of ludicrous. But best of all was watching tech reviewers immediately like make fun of and criticize users for not understanding. It's just such a non-issue. That was one of the best tweets I saw. For the 5 people out there complaining about this non-issue, Samsung is gonna roll it back. Well, if it's a non-issue, why is Samsung changing it? It's obviously an issue. So maybe contribute to tech and don't be just a fashion flex bro who likes to show off fancy, expensive phones and has nothing to contribute to this conversation. It's so dumb. I'm gonna take another drink of coffee here. Do we wanna play another round? How many, do we have people? Bahunas is just joined the room. I think we've got 4 people ready to play. Is that what I'm looking at? Oh, Farhan, I know what you mean. There are people who still say that a micro SD card slot is outdated. Arthur Lee, well, Juan, you don't always get what you ask for. See, we have laws against that. If you market something to me and you don't deliver it, that's against the law. I feel we are getting to a point where there should be a class action lawsuit against every phone, tablet, and computer manufacturer who puts 256 GB on the side of the box, but then the user only gets like 190 GB. And I feel like we need to switch that over. We should be talking gigabytes and tebibytes, not gigabytes and terabytes. Yeah, Farhan, I got my Kingston 512 gig micro SD card for 40 bucks. 40 bucks. So when you add $100, now granted, you know, the storage that goes into your phone is probably higher quality than what's on a memory card, but if you're using it for media, I don't really feel like that matters. I know a lot of people love to like, oh, and I had a memory card and it died on me. I still have like my old 16 gig Kingstons from when I was shooting on like the Galaxy Note 4. They are slow cards. They were miserable to use back in the day. I was shooting UHD video and then moving them over manually to the cards to back up my photos and videos. That sucked. Those cards are still going. So I was never running games off of my cards, but for media storage, they worked real well. They're still kicking today. So I end up pulling them, and those are what I use for a lot of my like dash cam and action camera videos. So I just have the 16 gig. What's hilarious, I am working on a dash cam video for 70 mi. It's another 4K, HDR. It's got a brand new Sony sensor in it. I've been driving around with it in my cheap Nissan. I popped in one of those old, I think it was my Kingston. No, it was my Transcend. I had a Transcend 16 gig. I popped it in there, and for the very first time, I got a warning from the dash cam. The write speed on this card is too slow. So that's a card I picked up. I want to say it was after the Note 4, but in that Note 5 era of phones. That's how old this card is. And I finally encountered a little mini camera that did not want to use that card. I would say I got my money's worth out of that little 16 gigabyte Transcend. All right, let's do another game here. Back to Tetris. I haven't seen anyone saying if they have like Tetris strategies. Every time I like trot out Tetris is something that we can do. I'm always curious how folks like to play. So we'll see. I'll drop 3. Oh, that was dumb. All right, no, I gotta fix that. That's really ugly. All right, so if anyone wanted to try and take me down, now would be a really good time while I try and clean this garbage out. I'm almost done. All right, I'm way off what I wanted to build, so that's not great. Let's do this, and then we'll do that, and that. Ugh. I couldn't land what I wanted to. Someone was sending me some garbage there. Who came in? Solber! And a DTNL coming in 3rd. Good stuff. Looking at you, Google charging premium prices on the regular pixels to Addies folks. Tisk. Oh, TED Talks Tech. Speaking of storage, are your bays done rebuilding? So, I just recently upgraded all the drives in my NAS. I have a little 3-bay NAS, so like TK My Bay. I have 3 bays. This is not a massive array, but I did have 10 terabyte drives in there, which as soon as you put the drives in, you'll see that they're 900 tebibytes of storage. So, not, no, 9.09 terabytes of storage. What am I talking about? So, I started the rebuild on Thursday. I got the drives Thursday afternoon, and I started the rebuild. Each drive, originally listed, it was going to take about 17 hours to replace. So in RAID 5, you have 2 drives as sort of a bulk storage, and then 1 drive is kind of like a compressed map of all the data on the other 2 drives. So at any point, you can pull 1 drive and replace the data on that drive with the other 2. But what that means is you have the storage quantity of 2 drives with 1 drive acting like a backup. It's not a backup, but I'm oversimplifying here. So I was down to about 5 terabytes of storage left on a 20 terabyte bulk. So I had to back up about 14 terabytes of data and rewrite it across all 3 drives on these new drives. So each drive, you put it in and you're like, okay, well, it's gonna take about 17 hours. Well, that's 17 hours at like the maximum listed speed of the drive. Each of them actually took closer to 20 hours. I'm like, okay, 20 hours, but I've repopulated all 3. So then you get to, all 3 drives are done. It's like Saturday night. I'm like, oh, this is great. And I go and I look in and it's like, oh, it still says it's the same storage. Duh. Oh, I'm so dumb. After you do all 3 drives, you need to rebuild the RAID with it listing. You have to rebuild the RAID with it acknowledging the new storage size of all those drives. So it was another 20 hours just telling it had a larger storage pool to work from. And so now it is almost done with that final RAID rebuild. If you ever need to upgrade the drives in your NAS, so it was a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and finishing up Monday. For me, it was a 5-day process. 5-day process to replace all the data drive by drive. One of the drive swaps, I even woke up like, okay, I know it's gonna be done around this time. It's like 1:30 in the morning. I get out of bed and it's at like 99.9%. And it felt like it was at 99.9% for like 20 minutes. I was exhausted. It wasn't that long, but it just felt like it was taking forever. But I finally got the 3rd drive out, rebuilt the entire array, and I feel a lot better. So now I've got 20 terabyte drives in this 3-bay NAS, and I'm gonna take the 10 terabyte drives, and I think I'm gonna talk to my mom about buying a less expensive enclosure. I don't care if this enclosure has like 10 gigabit networking and all that fancy stuff like I've got on this QNAP, but of having it set up so that we can run like a remote backup. I need to figure out if she can do that because her modem's in a weird place, but then we can make the same offer. Like, you can give me a big hard drive, we'll attach it to our network, and then, you know, once a week at like 2 in the morning on a Saturday, it'll just back up new files to yours and back up new files to mine, and then we'll be able to have offsite data backups. But yeah, I'm a big fan of network attached storage. I think more people should be buying some kind of network attached hard drive. It is so nice being able to access all of your files anywhere you have internet and an internet connection. But the more data you have to back up, boy, those rebuilds start taking a real long time. Gormlord is asking how he joins the game. Let me copy. And let me know if this actually showed up in the chat. So this is a private room here on JSTRIS. JSTRIS is totally free if anyone wants to play. And that should take you to the room that we're in. Raymond, which NAS do you have? I have a QNAP TS332X. So that's from QNAP. It's one of their small business ARM chip routers. It's an Annapurna quad core, 857 cores. I also just upgraded the RAM. So I went from 4 gigabytes of RAM to 8 gigabytes of RAM. ARM chip, respectably powerful for multiple concurrent 4K video streams. It can do transcoding on the box, but on our home network, Our entire home network now is 10 gig. I really haven't bothered. I just do the full like 4K. I have a ton of Blu-ray rips. I just do the full 4K for a lot of our video streaming. I'll let that kind of kick over when I'm doing Plex streams. So I'll let the Plex server running on it decide bandwidth and video speed. I don't remember how much it was when I bought it. I don't believe it was prohibitively expensive. It would have been cheaper to take my old PC case and make a NOS out of that, but I love how cute and compact and little this 3 bay drive is. But it's been running like a champ. I've had almost no downtime with it, especially compared to my Western Digital enclosures, which I've gone through 3. The third one is over here on my bookshelf. It's just a huge, expensive paperweight at this point, and it's so frustrating. Oh, someone just went on Tetris. We're gonna go. Few more people are in the room. We've got 6 players now. I'm almost positive that if I'm trying to talk and play at the same time, that someone here will be able to crush me. Oh, shoot. I thought I had a different piece in reserve. That was super dumb. Oh, that was also super dumb. Oh, this is getting bad. Ah. All right, that's a little bit of a recovery, but not great. Not a good run for me. I was thinking about trying to say something, and I should have been focusing. See, now I've got to play a very different game, and I'm very bad at mirror imaging. I'll do that. So whenever I have to go from shoot, that is not what I want to do. Whenever I have to go from building on the right side to building for the left side, I have to think mirror image, and all of the pieces are backwards for that. So I struggle a lot more trying to get that. This is ugly. Back to, oh! Oh, who got me? Oh, Solver. That was a good round. Oh, man. That is a very good question, Go Starscream. When you're setting up a NOS, are you required to use a Windows or Mac PC for it, or can you use your phone for the setup? I think it's easiest to use some type of larger screen with a proper browser, because a lot of what you go through are now browser. Like the operating system of the NOS, it's a computer. It's a little computer that just manages hard drives, and now they all have really pretty GUIs. So I find it's easier to go to a larger monitor. Some of them you can even plug directly into the monitor. That makes it even easier. Like, you can attach a mouse and a keyboard and a monitor and work as if it were just another sort of PC all on its own. But most of the management that I did for just observing and watching the data migration, most of that I did from my phone apps. So as soon as it's connected to a network, it doesn't really matter what you use with it. You can log into it and manage it and operate it kind of the same as any other device. I'm gonna drink some water because my voice is already getting a little scratchy. So Tobias, this is a great question. I'd love to hear some other people's thoughts in the chat here too. One, do you think there will be a follow-up to the Sony Xperia Pro I? I sure hope so, and that Sony changes the name to Xperia Alpha 1 so we get a proper Xperia Alpha line. I do think at some point we will see Sony make an Xperia Pro i2 or an Xperia Pro II. I would love for it to be an Xperia Pro II. I don't believe we'll see that until Sony has recovered a little bit more from the last year was disastrous for all smartphone manufacturers out there. So I think it's going to take a little while for companies to start looking at more expensive R&D and more expensive devices. Also, I don't believe we'll see an Xperia Pro II until Sony has made a new camera sensor that can match the capabilities of the sensor that's in the Xperia 1 Mark I at a 1-inch size. So I think we'll get a Pro I when we start hearing about that new stacked sensor at a 1-inch size. And I think Sony will save that for them first. They'll get first crack at a 1-inch sensor that can shoot 4K at 120 frames per second, has much faster readout, has even better low light capabilities. That's where I think we'll get a Pro II. So I would not expect it for this year, but I think it's possible we'll see some grumblings of that maybe next year for the year following. Like I think maybe an experiment like that, a Pro i2 or Pro II makes sense when we're looking into like 2025. You got all the tech, it's gonna be a substantial enough upgrade. That to me sounds like the correct time to consider that kind of a refresh. Because also, you know, those phones are extremely aspirational. You're not making those phones with the expectation that you're gonna sell a bunch of them. And that's what's kind of tough when you're dealing with the economies of scale that you are with these types of devices. Do you really need a Halo product in that lineup? That's kind of tricky to guesstimate. And I feel like the Pro and the Pro I helped Sony market a kind of photography dominance. And right now, I don't feel like they need to worry too much about that. Woo! Moisman climbing up. We got Moisman, Kokumop, Poobone, Addy, number 5, Sulber coming in number 6, and Donaday. I would just like to say, I feel like I did a terrible job keeping the thread of that conversation going, but playing an okay board on Tetris. So I am going to give myself just a little bit of a pat on the back for for multitasking. There's no such thing as multitasking. There's only single tasking, but you know, again, you've got to like hyper thread your conversation with your Tetris game. So I think, you know, if we were talking about Sony Xperias, what are people's thoughts? Do I have them over here? I do. So these are my Audeze LCDs. These are some of my all-time favorite planar magnetics. Great bang for buck. At the time they launched, these were like $400 headphones. And now I feel like they're sort of representative of what a good, solid, like under $300 headphone might sound like. I also have my Audeze Euclids over here in a case. Oh no, they're out of the case. But these are my Audeze Euclid. These are planar magnetic earbuds. Audeze is one of my all-time favorite premium or audiophile headphone companies. I got to try their electrostatic. It was like a $5,000 headphone. It was delicious. I feel very few people should buy a $5,000 headphone. I loved it. I don't feel I would get $5,000 worth of love out of it, but it was incredible. Taking a listen on it. PlayStation, Sony is buying Audeze. And so there's a little bit of confusion, like what department at Sony is really going to own them. For right now, they say Audeze is going to operate as a standalone brand. To me, this feels a little like Apple and Beats Audio. So what are people's thoughts? I'm going to fire up another round here, and if any of my fellow headphone nerds are sort of keeping an eye on this business deal, what are your expectations? I feel like this is going to be a good combo for Sony, and I know there's been kind of a challenging market. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. There's kind of a challenging market for Audeze because really boutique-y headphones, that's kind of a tough sell. So it's been a challenge. I know from talking to folks at Audeze, they're making some of the best headphones the company has ever made, but it's also, you know, at a time where the economy is kind of challenging. It's a little rough for someone to make an expensive headphone and for consumers to understand why that's such a big draw for them. Let's do that, and that. Okay, good. So, oh, I've heard some rumors. So Ghost Starscream is saying that this could be real bad. That this could be more like when Samsung bought out AKG. And that hasn't really turned out to be great for people like me who were fans of classic AKG. So I definitely appreciate the concerns some people might have there. I feel like the AKG label lost a lot of what made it so interesting to professional recording. This is the best podcasting ever. I know this kind of sucks, but I'll be honest, I really needed sort of a day off of being able to fill 2 hours worth of talking. My voice was in rough shape last week, because last week the show went almost 3 hours. Even though we're getting the garbage, I'm still trying to build higher than I probably should. At this point, I should just be looking to clear individual lines. Oh, and I just did something really dumb there. Let's put you there. Oh, that was also super dumb. Sulber! Oh, so everyone in the chat, I think I'm gonna do another game. I want to see. I think Sulber is gonna crush you all if I just do one and I sit it out. So I'm just gonna hang back. Awesome Possum came in third. So Awesome Possum is Pubooni. So if you don't make an account on JSTRS, then it just makes up a name for you. Awesome Possum, this is hella interactive. Anyone who was worried if I don't do these streams live, we're doing it live. It's great. Here, I'm gonna push new game for everybody else, and I'll just let mine kind of play out and fall. Okay, so let me see. From Farhan, since PlayStation Division is buying Audeze, I'm thinking PlayStation exclusive audio gears. I hope, again, this won't happen right away because Sony Audio is kind of its own little pocket division against like the rest of the Sony electronics. Like the Walkman division is a tiny little pocket within Sony. But what I would love to see is actually this move away from PlayStation. So if the PlayStation brand is the division that really now owns and operates Audeze, what would be super cool is if the new Sony XMs, we got an option for planar magnetics. So all the different drivers in your headphones, I don't know if anyone really cares or needs me to explain this stuff, but there are different ways that you can make sound. I'm playing with ribbon drivers on a new headphone, and they are incredibly articulate. It is a very unique sound. But the practicality of a dynamic driver is that you can tune it really easily. You can build it. It's one of the most inexpensive ways that you can build a high quality or a premium audio driver. So like my Bear Dynamics here on my desk, these are dynamic drivers. And they're really good in that kind of punchy attack. They can be a little less detailed, a little less articulate, but they're also really great when you need to make a headphone that's going to rely heavily on active noise cancellation. So, oh, I just took 7th place. Solber, my friend just came in. I was multitasking, but let me go play host. Okay, Solber. I gave you the chance to try and take everyone out. Oh, you're still playing. I think you are gonna take the first spot here. So anyway, sorry, that was a rambling way of saying I really hope we see Audeze's influence over other devices. If we could eventually get to XM earbuds with planar drivers, those will be incredibly expensive as a collaboration between Audeze and Sony, but they would probably sound really good. And same thing, it probably won't be for the XM6, but if you could get an XM7 Pro and that had a planar driver instead of a dynamic driver, that would be awesome. Gormlord coming in number 1. Look at that. Good job. That was a great round, y'all. Very, very nice. Dave Burns, don't break your arm patting yourself on the back. So I don't believe Sony is going to spend a lot of money on Audeze and then completely gut Audeze and then let the Audeze label wither away. Audeze gaming headsets are phenomenal. Their audio tech is incredible considering how small the company is. Audeze, the electrostatic headphone that I tried at Audeze, and it's a $5,000 headphone, what that originally was designed for were incredible audio quality for people getting MRIs. So you can't have a headphone in a chamber that has a whole bunch of magnets, like super high powered magnets. So they had to design this headphone so that people could be more comfortable and it wouldn't interfere with an MRI. Their ability to build device, or I should say usage-specific headphones is absolutely stunning. This is not just a company that's making like fashion flex, I bought it because it's expensive and I like it because it's expensive kind of products. They have contributed significantly to other aspects of audio reproduction, even into more scientific and medical endeavors. So they're not like, you know, a hearing aid company that's not that kind of expertise, but their engineering is incredible. So Sony could learn a lot from this little boutique-y brand. I forget where they are. They're down here in Southern California. They're about an hour south of me. Not too far from City of Industry. I was very impressed with what they were able to accomplish. So I don't think this is gonna end up like Samsung and AKG. I really hope it doesn't. I really think it'll end up more like Apple and Beats. Maybe 5 years from now, as Sony has kind of worked with this division and they've shared some technology and they've collaborated on a couple products, the Audeze label kind of decrescendos in this premium enthusiast tier and it becomes just sort of a side venture for Sony. But at least for the next several years, I would expect that their pedigree and their reputation for just really, really, really good and really expensive headphones is going to be maintained. So I got to play Gormlord now. We're going to do a new game here. Good game, good game. All right, I'm gonna pay attention. I'm really gonna like look at what I'm doing and give the competitors here the respect that they deserve for gladiators taking the field. Although that was dumb, so I'm just gonna clear that. Well, like, I'm gonna really pay attention and do this right, guys. Oh, I suck. That was also another bad play. One, now I've got to clear that. Let's clear that. I'm kind of messed up though. Let's just drop you there. Someone was giving me some good garbage too. So now you're making me work for it. I like it. Builds character. Oh no, now this is all getting messy again. Okay, so now I can get back to what I wanted to build. We'll do that, we'll do that, that. We'll go there, that's good. Oh, that's aesthetically pleasing. So we'll stick with that. And now I can drop some more garbage. Guys had me on the ropes for a second there. I liked it. I can't even look at who's still in the room. I'm actually having to pay attention. Those are the best. Woo! Donaday. Who's Donaday? Number 2, Sulber. Number 3, Gormlord coming in 6. We got Kokumop, Pubuoni. Sulber, very good round. Who's Donaday? I didn't see who jumped in as Donaday. Dave Burns, magnets, how do they work? I don't think that's a proposition for the XM series. That's a dynamically tuned series, and they are very successful with software tuning. If they will use the Audeze infrastructure for one of the Sony audio series, it will be, oh, you're probably right, successor to the Z1R. You're probably much more on there. I am selfishly wanting to see a travel headphone, an XM series travel headphone with that planar driver. If you ever get a chance to see, they're discontinued now, but I have the Audeze Mobius up there, their older gaming headset that had the really fancy 3D head tracking. The Mobius is just a phenomenal passive noise reduction gaming headset, and that planar driver is just so good. Lampros is Donaday. Good round, Lampros. That was a great round. Here, AKG is dead. They don't. Oh, McCorcoran is asking. AKG is dead. They don't still sell products under that name. I remember Critical convinced thousands of people to buy their N400 true wireless earbuds. I never tried them though. So AKG isn't dead. Oh, did I already lose? Oh, I think I already lost. I wasn't really watching on that round. Sorry. So AKG isn't dead. You can still buy AKG products, but a lot of what made AKG a reputable professional audio brand, a lot of those people went elsewhere. So for example, my all-time favorite microphone is the AKG C414. Specifically, my all-time favorite microphone is the AKG C414 EB with a brass capsule from the AKG C12. You didn't need to know all that. But a lot of those products have kind of stagnated. And so the people who were working on those engineering teams for their professional grade microphones have gone off, and you can now buy, I forget what the name of the company is, but I think they call it the C818. I think that's what it's called. And it's sort of the spiritual successor to the C414, made by the people who used to work in that division from AKG. So that's what we say. There was always an AKG consumer division. Like that, yeah, that's always been kind of there. And I think AKG made some killer gaming headsets back in the day too. But under Samsung, now that Samsung owns this huge like audio conglomerate that was also a part of AKG, I don't believe that that's the focus from Samsung. Like they're not really looking at that kind of tier of audio. because of Sony's different pocket divisions, I don't believe they'll treat an audio brand the same way. Gormlord, so first of all, I'm sorry, I interrupted Gormlord celebration. Gormlord coming in first, Aditya Anil with the second place finish, and Donaday, good job. Austrian Audio, thank you, Steve Pogue with the clutch. The AK engineers moved to Austrian Audio, so yeah. If you still, you can still buy an AKG C414. It is still one of my all-time favorite microphones, but if you wanted to look at what like the next flavor of that audio evolution looks like, you would move over to Austrian Audio. Yeah, good call, Steve, thanks. I couldn't remember the name of the company. Awesome Possum, oof, the levels of trash being slung. See, I love, oh, Guest is playing for Solber. Okay, let's see how how Solber's Guest does. See, I like that for JSTRIS, that eventually it stops letting you just keep going. So there's like kind of a kill switch in every round where after a point it just starts slinging garbage and you have to clear out. Oh, man. That's brutal. That's not what I wanted to do. Whew, that's better. All right, let's put you there, you there, you there. Ugh. Every time I start building a little momentum, I'm getting exactly what I don't want. Let's do that, that. I'm really stoked that some folks here are enjoying playing Tetris. To me, this is like one of those forever games. Oh, I can't clear that. Oh, I guess I could do that. Less than ideal. Yep, that's still super ugly. Put you there. So whoever slung that last little batch of garbage, that definitely stung. Right now I'm just trying to evade. See, now I've got a center pipe and I really don't like that because you gotta be more careful about how you drop. I know some people love like, hey, I like to leave the center clear, which is a much safer strategy. Oh, gosh. Okay, that actually kind of works though, so we'll do that. Leaving the center clear is a much safer strategy because you can recover more easily. Oh, shoot, right back at you. I don't know who sent that, but you almost killed me. That was good. Kokumop. Sorry, I was saying, in Tetris, one of the main strategies is leaving a center column so that when you get that skinny one, you don't have to move side to side. If you're already climbing near the top of your board, it's hard to get the skinny piece all the way over to one side. It's very easy for it to get stuck. You might only have a couple frames of animation to get it all the way over and rotated before it gets stuck on something else. And especially in a game like this where someone can send you garbage, it can bump up your board and get the piece stuck and you're in a world of hurt. I don't like having to play two columns. So you've got to keep two columns consistent and leave that center channel clear. I play real lazy. I like to leave the most right side column clear for that skinny piece to slot back in, but as you can see, I'm regularly climbing up the left side of that board, and I've got to try and keep it sort of like a downward slope so that I can eventually clear out all the garbage that I create for myself. So it's pretty tough. Lampros, why are the gray blocks that grow sometimes after every move? So this is what's cool about JSTRIS. Rounds last for a very short period of time. And after so the game sort of makes this assumption. If you've been playing for, I think it's a minute or maybe 2 minutes, and and there's still multiple players going, it starts ending the round for you. So every time a piece drops, it gives you another unclearable line of garbage, and you've got to deal with the board shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, and that's how they determine a shorter round for who's going to be first place, second place, all that stuff. So that's why I like Tetris. It's not something that can just go on forever. Each round has a very short window, and you play for a while, you throw some garbage to people, they get to the top of the board, they die, but then you get to the end and the game forces you to close out that round. Brian Glaze, Juan, you destroyed me that time. Oh, okay, you came in second. Oh, sorry, we started another one. So it's always tough when you start off with one of these, oh, I'm gonna have a red one there too, so let's do, oh, this is not, that was not a strong start for me, because now, let's just do this, and that. Ugh, that's gross. What was I thinking? I wasn't thinking. This would be a really good round to take me out. Ugh. Oh yeah, this is super gross. There's something about Tetris that also starts to feel a little like Go. I am terrible at playing Go. I don't know, does anyone here play Go? Because I feel like I'm about to say something that might be a little culturally insensitive. So please tell me if I maybe have this incorrect. But part of what makes a Go player a better player is being able to appreciate the aesthetic that they are creating on the board that they play. And I feel there's an element of that to Tetris as well. Like after a point, you stop thinking about literally what block is going to fit where, and there's like a feeling you get as to how the board should look and what it should feel like. So my strategy is very specific to being a little on the messy side, but I'm kind of constantly getting myself in trouble so that then I will get myself out of trouble and get to the look of the board that I think is more appealing. That was a very rambling and near incoherent way to discuss how I like to play Tetris. So I apologize for wasting everybody's time. Hopefully you weren't listening too closely to that, because we're all now dumber for me having been speaking. See, I'm like completely off my normal flow here. This to me is all just damage control. And like I'm barely hanging on to what I would normally be trying to accomplish, and someone just gave me a whole bunch of stuff. Yeesh. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna win this one. Yep, that's it. Gormlord took me out. That was a good one. Here, let's hide this message. Once it was down to me and you, my screen filled up with gray blocks. Yep. I love a good quick round of Tetris for that. All right, let me get back in this board. All right. So while I'm kind of looking at this, and we're still sort of loosely talking about some tech, the other major story that I thought was kind of interesting this week, and I was very disappointed in how Google and Samsung are playing this. I was wondering if anyone had thoughts on the announcement on the strategy for Samsung and Google partnering to make a new, that was dumb, to make a new XR headset. I think it's a real bad idea, because it really reads like they're panicking and they're worried about Apple's Vision Pro, and that's what they're trying to make. So I think it's gonna be a real bad play. It's not gonna last for very long. Like all of these other initiatives from these companies, we're gonna get like maybe 1 year of hardware from some of their launch partners, and then everyone else is gonna go off, forget about it, and it'll be like more evidence that like Google can't do anything. They never stick with any of their projects. And I feel like they'll have deserved it. I feel like now if they make this play, this strategy, the way that they're talking about it, it kind of validates all the people that keep saying like Google can't stick with a project. So when I can look at the screen again and I can blink, I'll be very curious what people's thoughts are. Because right now I am once again getting myself in trouble. I need to clear some of this garbage out, but I'm not planning ahead very well. Oof! Although I don't think I can clear this either. I'm gonna have to make it messy again. Oh, shoot. Gormlord for the win again. He's got my number. He's been watching me play. It's like, what was that? The movie Maverick. It's like, I've just been watching you play. I know all your tells now. Why do you think I lost for an hour? From Michael Corcoran, I'm wondering for them. It's wondering for them to be prototyping stuff, but an announcement seems awfully premature. I think it was real bad to announce the way they did, with nothing to show. Because even for Vision Pro, I think essentially being almost vaporware at this point, Apple still showed a bunch of stuff and got a bunch of people to put something on their face. I think it is such a bad strategy for Samsung and Google to be saying like, oh yeah, we're totally doing this, but we'll show you later. Like, I think that's, again, it makes it look not, I don't want to use a word like shady, but it makes it look like it kind of validates all of the people that say like, why would you ever buy anything but Apple? Look, they don't even really have anything. Oh, dang it, I did that again. Just give myself a little breathing room there. No, I don't want to do that. Let's do this. Well, I cleared out my own mess. I have not gotten to all of the garbage that other people have given me yet. Usually a little bit better about clearing out other people's garbage. Very unpleasant. Oh, shoot. Can I? Yeah, let's do that. Man, this is gross. See, this is what I hate about having a center column strategy is go there. Oh man. Because once you make one little mistake in a center column, then you're punished for it. guys made me work for that one. That one was hard. Go Starscream, I think this is exactly what I've been trying to stumble my way through. I'll believe it when I see it. I don't trust Google on the longevity of it, and no one should. As much as I'm a fan of Android and I love divisions within Google, we've had Daydream, we've had Tango. ARCore just got an update for now. It's like augmented reality services for Android. If Google had just stuck with Daydream, we would be on a 4th generation of consumer-facing VR, but they didn't. And now we're having to rebuild that from scratch. If Samsung had stuck with Samsung Gear VR and the Samsung Odyssey headset, Samsung had one of the best mixed reality headsets. It was great hardware, but they gave it up. And now Google and Samsung are coming at this totally from scratch again. I'm so tired of watching them pick up these projects and throw them away, and then Apple does something and they're like, oh, maybe we should take it seriously now. If you had just shown us that you could take it seriously this whole time, we wouldn't be in this problem. And so like I said, I'm very disappointed in how they're playing this, because I think it is just completely validating what people say about, you know, Google and Samsung. They're not, what is that line from Succession? You are not serious people. I don't feel they should be taken seriously when they continue operating like this. I don't know. Maybe I have that wrong. Maybe this is the better strategy. I'd be curious if anyone disagrees with me on this. Not like I'm trying to debate you, but I've been trying to suss out, like, why is it that I'm so upset about this one? And a major part of it for me has been, I've been really trying to keep track of VR and AR news, and I feel like Apple is going to be a terrible steward of that. I feel like Apple is going to purposely misrepresent the market. They're going to make competitors and competing products sound less good. What do I want to do here? Sorry, I had a point that I was going to try and make. I too am salient. Sorry, I literally just felt myself kind of hit a flow state there, and now I'm going to talk myself out of it. Oh, I won. Sorry. I let that one just kind of keep going. It said first, and I literally don't know how many lines I did after it said first. So let me get back. If you guys want to play around without me, you can absolutely play around without me. I absolutely need to catch up on the chat here. Sorry. Oh, Gormlord, if you have a Game Boy Advanced emulator, you need to try Tetris. It's a great little unofficial Tetris ROM. I will absolutely give that a try. I'll need to see if, I don't think I have a GBA. I mean, that should be in RetroArch though, right? But I'm always down for other funky or funny versions of Tetris. Marie and I, literally just for 2 years, every night we'd pour bourbon and go for an hour on Puyo Puyo Tetris. We'd go head to head. We'd never play Puyo Puyo. If you're really good at Tetris, you can destroy a Puyo Puyo player. Like I'd be very curious to see who can really go head to head against a decent Tetris player playing Puyo Puyo. It's sort of like a Dr. Mario style blob. You line up different colors and you've got to clear different lines. And I'm sure there are players in Puyo Puyo who are really good. The best and the fastest Tetris players, I believe, would just demolish them. So we never played Puyo Puyo. We would just go round after round after round of Tetris until we couldn't blink. And we'd need to, like, you know, rub our eyes and like go to bed. It was some really anxious times in the middle of the pandemic, but that was one of the things that we got a lot of comfort out of. And we wait for Lex to go to bed, and then we just grind. And so now I'm teaching Lex how to play Tetris, and she's really resistant to playing games that require controllers. She really likes touch screens and stuff, just kind of the nature of what kids grow up with. Right now, the game that she's sort of, she's showing an interest in. I didn't like give her a choice. I made her lunch yesterday, and I sat her in front of a tablet, and I fired up the Queen's Gambit. It's the chess game on Netflix, and it's basically like a chess tutorial system, and then you can play against other people or you can play against the computer. But she was like, oh, okay, I'll play it while I eat my lunch. And that girl blew through the first 2 levels of like instruction. So by the end of the second level, it's starting to do really basic things like, what one piece would you move to put the other player in checkmate? So it's already starting to build chess puzzles. Really solid. I mean, it's fun. I'm not gonna say it's any grand, amazing chess experience, but it's kind of cute, and you're already paying for it if you have a Netflix subscription. So I lost my train of thought, but I'm always kind of interested in seeing, like, is something like a Tetris Effect kind of the play? Is it like a battle Tetris, or was it Tetris 99? Was that the one that's on the Nintendo Switch? I tend to gravitate to JSTRS just because you can play it on anything, anywhere with anyone. But it's kind of my favorite. Oh, Awesome Possum, I'm Pooh Buoni, I'm retiring, good game, good games. I know I'm way behind on the chat, so you probably already left. But yeah, some really solid play in there, guys. Oh, did TK pop by? Did I miss TK jumping into the chat? I see J-Man. Oh, I guess I missed him. But if he's here, hey TK, what's up, buddy? If you want to jump in, you can play some Tetris. I know you probably can't because I think you should be working right now. Let's see. Yeah, go Starscream. It's obnoxious to wonder, right? He says, I wonder how far ahead the Gear VR would have been after they canned it for the S7. And what Android VR needed was actually the LG Friend VR headset. So at some point, you've got to stop making phone VR where you put the phone in a caddy in front of your face. At some point, they needed to move to just like these portable wearable glasses. If you made these, like the X-Real and the Rokid and the TCLs and the Virtu, I think is the other company that's making them now. If you just made those into a completely enclosed optical system, you would have the head tracking sensors in the glasses, you'd plug that into the phone could be your remote, you would move Daydream into a much more user accessible, and then every new phone you got would make your Daydream experience more powerful. So they didn't want to sell that. At the time, that kind of heads-up display system probably would have been $700-800. When TCL did it 3 years ago, the first TCL Nextwears that I got to play with, what were they? I want to say they were $700 retail-ish. Now we're coming up with comparable optical systems for like $300 to $400. They're almost half the price a year later. But at the time, that would have been even more expensive to make the birdbath optics, to make the little mini OLEDs, to make all of that stuff. It would have been expensive. But if you could have made a Daydream or a Gear VR like that, it would have lasted for multiple generations of phone. The problem was you got to a point where like, hey, phone design is changing, the shape of the phones is changing, so anything that you put into this headset isn't going to fit, or it's going to have some problems with thermals, or it's not going to perform very well. We tapped out at the Snapdragon 821, I think was the last series of chips that really properly supported Daydream. And like, you quit just before phone chips got real good. Imagine Daydream with like a Snapdragon 855 or an 865. Like, that would have been an amazing pairing for graphics and performance. And if you could have moved the heat off of your face and into your hand, would have been so much better. So now we're recreating that. That's what we're trying to do with Rokid Station and X-Real Beam and these little like pocket mini brains for our glasses and stuff. But if Google had stuck with it, and if Samsung had stuck with it, Apple wouldn't be a player at all. There would be no conversation about Apple in this space. They gave up consumer VR. They let the entire market just sort of be dominated by Facebook and Oculus and Meta, and now they're having to rebuild their reputation from scratch, and they're having to rebuild their reputation. They're having to rebuild their reputation from negative. It's not rebuilding it from zero. Everybody expects that when Google puts out something new, it's going to last for a year and then they're going to kill it. Oh, I'm not going to do Google VR. It's going to be just like Stadia. And that's going to be true. So Google's going to put it out. It's going to flop in the market. They're going to say, oh, well, I guess people aren't interested in what we have to offer for VR, and then they're going to kill the project. If Google had stuck with Stadia and then positioned Stadia as more of a backbone service for other game streaming networks, Stadia would be a business-focused solution. They killed the whole project. They didn't even want to be the backbone streaming service to help power other game streaming experiences. Like, what are we doing? This is getting ridiculous. And it's every single time they do it, it's just another piece of evidence for consumers to say, I'm never going to trust Google with something new, even when we know they would do it really well. Yeah, absolutely, Farhan. I completely agree. It's why we need someone truly anti-Apple to completely disrupt the whole thing with the same level of marketing as Apple. I don't know who would do that. The closest I can come up with who has the potential would be someone like Microsoft. But I think Microsoft was absolutely correct to walk away from consumer headsets and focus on government contracts. If your business is about making money, there is no money in consumer VR or AR. I think Apple's gonna learn that pretty quick too. Like, there's a reason why metaverse is not the hot buzzword that it was a year ago in the middle of a global pandemic where people were work from home. Boy, metaverse is going to be this really exciting new way to collaborate and stuff. We're not interested in metaverse anymore. So VR, I think, is going to be a big hurdle. It's a very challenging experience to get consumers interested in it. And a lot of people think they know what it's like and they've never tried it. Oh, I put goggles on my face and I play games. Like, whatever, I know what VR is. And you're like, you really don't. So I really feel like the next step should be heads-up displays. What we needed were those translation glasses that Google showed off. Not last, was it 2 IOs ago? I think it was 2 IOs ago. That's what we needed. We're never going to get that though, because these companies are all like rapidly reacting fiscal quarter by fiscal quarter to whatever's just sort of new in the market and whatever the new buzz is going to be. Like, look at how the sheen on AI is already starting to fade. Think about how quick each hype cycle is getting, from like the rise of cryptocurrencies to the fall of NFTs. Metaverse was this big hot idea and every company was working on a metaverse component, and now that's almost all completely gone. I can take it back. Like, when I reviewed this 3D printer, I've got the Anchor Make sitting over here on the floor because it's too big for my table. I went back and I looked at, there was a Netflix documentary, I think it's called like Printing the Future or something like that. I need everybody to go watch that documentary. It's hilarious. They're talking about 3D printing as if it's going to be this incredible consumer revolution, disruptive product. And what happened with 3D printing? It got overhyped. the market for it kind of died a bit, and now it's back in the hands of just more enthusiast communities. I think the same thing is going to happen to crypto and NFTs. I think the same thing is going to happen to VR. I think Facebook trying to make Oculus happen the way they did, too hard, too fast, not ready for consumers. I think VR is going to kind of die, go back into the hands of enthusiasts, and then it's going to be a little pocket community of enthusiasts that use that kind of hardware. But everyone could benefit from like heads-up display glasses. But so far, I don't see what is AR gonna do for people when they have to walk around with ski goggles. You can't leave the house with ski goggles. With the newest build of the X-Real Beam and some heads-up display, or I should say some face displays, I can kind of get out and about with these glasses. I could watch a movie while doing my normal day tasks and just have it floating in like a little mini window up in the corner of my view. Like, it's not really something I would recommend as like a mainstream activity for that kind of hardware, but we're getting pretty close. We're getting there. From Michael Corcoran 1, how is that Bear Dynamic neckband? Well, it's charging right now. Oh, it's charged. Oh, that charged fast. I completely killed it yesterday, and I'm gonna have a video out on it the end of this week. Bear Dynamic neckband earbuds. I don't know if I still have them here in the room because I've been using them a lot. Is this? Oh, so here's my Bear Dynamic Freebird. These are still some of my favorite true wireless earbuds. I like Bear Dynamic products. I have the DT770s right here on my desk. I really like these earbuds. I think they are just shy of being S tier for sound quality, but they're like 9 hours of runtime per charge with ANC on. Multi-pair, really good sound quality. I'm not knocking them, and very solid ANC. So if you take what's cool about these earbuds and you put them into a neckband, you get really close. This is kind of what the Bluebird are doing for Bear Dynamic. Solid active noise cancellation, a really nice 10mm single driver setup. I like that you pull them out of your ears and you drop them, and you don't have to worry about putting your earbuds back into a little case. I think the boots and the connectors are solid. So like we have like a full rubbery kind of boot here right at the cable connection. And I'm spoiling maybe one of the best parts of this review. The USB-C, you can plug this into a computer and it shows up as a USB audio device. So you can do multi-point for 2 devices. So let's say you connected this to a phone and a tablet. You could do that over Bluetooth and it'll do multi-pairing. And then you wanted to use it with a computer. You don't have to repair or remove one of the devices or pair between 2 different things or worry about any of that. You can just plug in a cable and it shows up as a USB audio device. Every single headphone that is using Bluetooth and charges over USB-C should be moving to USB audio. Plug in the cable, use it cabled, and then unplug it to use it wirelessly with your phone. Brilliant. I love this neckband. There are a couple little cons that I'm going to talk about in the review. There are some sticky bits, and there is one minor design gripe that I think will irk people. Like, when I say it's very irksome when I use it, I think people who are sensitive to sounds like I am will understand what I'm talking about. But so far, the Bluebird have been phenomenal. And I absolutely love, I've got a nice premium, high quality, active noise canceling earbud that doesn't live in a lump in my pocket. Because as a dude, I don't walk around with a purse or anything, so my pocket space is starting to get pretty precious. Even when I'm walking around in cargo shorts, and I have 2 phones and a wallet and keys and my sunglasses. If I can eliminate this lump, it makes me feel a lot better. I'm gonna take another drink of water here. From Gormlord, the Pimax Portal is a Snapdragon 865 gaming console that can be put into a headset for VR. I think it's a nice idea. I think that's a great idea. And I think that's what we should have had all along if Google had any type of long-term vision for these projects, instead of getting really excited about something and then letting it die. I feel like that is That's the biggie that it just guts me every single time. We already had it. It would have worked. You needed to stick with it, and you needed to advertise it, and then we would have been making money. Go Starscream. I feel like Apple should have made a $45,000 military headset competitor to Microsoft's. I know everyone's like, oh, I wonder how HoloLens is doing. Have you ever noticed that? You bring up Apple, you bring up Samsung, and there's just sort of a general techie awareness. And then people will say things like, oh, but I wonder what HTC's up to. You're like, well, no, you aren't. You didn't wonder. Because all you needed to do was type HTC into a browser, and it would take you either to the website or to articles about the company, and you could very easily see what the company is up to. I forget who it was, but they were saying like, oh, geez, I wonder what HoloLens is doing right now. Because they were trying to pick at my criticisms of the Vision Pro. And you're like, if you were tech literate at all, it would be very easy for you to see. So you're not asking, this is a person who is not asking in earnest, what is HoloLens doing in a debate about how silly I think Vision Pro is being sold to consumers. Because it's just a dev kit. It's an incredibly expensive dev kit. Well, it's very simple to type Microsoft augmented reality into a browser. So you weren't interested in really knowing what's going on with augmented reality. You just wanted to throw out a company that usually scores you points for everybody else to cluck along and go, yeah, Microsoft always sucks. But if you really knew what was going on, you'd see, oh no, Microsoft hard pivoted to military contracts because they're making money on this type of tech and I should say this type of exploration of augmented reality. So it's always just funny to me. You can tell right away like who's an earnest participant in this conversation and who's just trying to waste my time with like truisms, like, oh yeah, boy, Google always sucks. And you're like, yeah, but you didn't really pay attention to this, did you? Oh, but who would use that? Because Microsoft and I hate Windows. Well, then you don't really care about AR. Oh, Michael Corcoran, I am not fashionable in the slightest. He says, I unapologetically love cargo pants and their utilitarian nature. I'm right there with you. It is a very practical design and fashion philosophy that I have, but I'm not gonna try and win anyone on this looking good. And I know, like, when my daughter's in mid school, she's gonna be so embarrassed by me walking around in cargo shorts. Nick Gay, I mean, we can always vent about this. I really want to vent about Google not supporting OEMs. Yet another, I saw other people talking about Wear OS watches. Wear OS 2 devices are now completely off the reservation, and all of the remaining support for Google Assistant is now completely broken. So, Google will pay Apple $14 billion a year just to be the default search in Safari and to be the main search for Siri. I do not believe, someone please correct me if I have this wrong, I do not believe that you can change the search engine for Siri. I think it's always just stuck now on Google search. So anyone who says Apple doesn't sell off your user data immediately is a liar. Apple makes $14 billion a year selling off your search in a very user identifiable kind of way. So let's not let Apple pat themselves on the back too hard there. But Google also looks at Fossil and Citizen and Mobvoi, all of their other partners, and they go out of their way to break features and compatibility with their legacy products. So you've got Apple profiting $14 billion a year just to be the default, just for Google to be the default search. But Google's own ecosystem of products, we got to break Google Assistant on you. Oh well, that sucks. I guess you got to buy a Samsung. Grr. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. We're completely killing like that whole feel of the Android ecosystem being about diversity and having other options, and like that's all dead. We're coasting on a few players who refuse to leave this market, but at some point, and I've said as much to the folks at Mobvoi. Like, I've been on some conference calls with them. It's like, hey, this looks like it's got to be a really frustrating situation to be in. It looks like Google is not supporting you at all. I can't get any confirmation on what that relationship looks like, but I have shared this thought with them. As soon as they can develop their own RTOS that supports speech to text, I'm gone. I'm done with Wear OS. What I want is a Pebble. The Pebble smartwatch had a great display for sunlight to read in direct light. It was different than your phone display. So your phone display looked better indoors and your watch looked better outdoors. That's the best of both worlds. It's very practical. It was a very durable build. It had a great pedometer on it, but it didn't have, because we never got the full Pebble Color 2.0 with the heart rate sensor. But it got at least 5 days on a charge, often more, and I could do speech to text. So I'd get a message in and I'd click over to it and I'd reply directly on the watch. I'd never have to take my phone out of my pocket. Same thing, the Qualcomm Talk. If you guys remember the Qualcomm Talk, I think I still have it over here. Yeah! So because I was cleaning out the bookshelf to rebuild my NOS, so this is my Qualcomm Talk, and it's got this huge bubble under the display now. I don't think this works at all anymore. But this, years ago, would get 4 or 5 days on a charge, and it had incredible speech-to-text capabilities. So I would get a text message, and I would go bloop, bloop, and I could talk directly to the watch, and it would write out my reply. As soon as an Amazfit, a Mobvoi, a Garmin, any of these brands, if you can give me rich notification support, my Focals by North had rich notification support, I would be in my Discord server and I'd see a new message come in from Discord, and I'd click over to it and I would speak out a reply and it would go to the Discord. I would have these full conversations in speech to text, never take my phone out of my pocket. As soon as anyone can give me the features of a Pebble, I'm gone. That's what I'm gonna use. I'm done with Wear OS. I love this hardware. The TicWatch is my favorite hardware. I'm over supporting Wear OS as the Google alternative to the Apple Watch. What I want is better battery life, which we can't get with an Android operating system. It's too heavy to run all of that and give us the best battery life. I want speech to text. I want rich notification replies for all of the apps that send notifications. I don't want to have to download and install a proprietary Telegram app. I just want the notification to come in, me to hit quick reply, say my reply, and then get on with my day. I'm done with Wear OS. I'm done playing this game with Google that, well, I guess you just need to buy a Samsung. They get everything first, and then after that, maybe we'll also update our own Pixel Watch to do this. Like, that's so dumb. They killed what made the platform interesting. They're actively killing the incredible amount of experience from companies like Fossil and Citizen. Like, you want a nice looking smartwatch. If you want a watch that looks like a watch and not like a gadget on your wrist. If you want all of the capabilities and the infrastructure, that the few times that you will ever see a watch being sold in a brick and mortar shop. Like, we used to have a Fossil store in our mall. And you would walk in and you'd be like, oh, those look really nice. You know, you'd walk over, you could actually play with a Wear OS watch, one of Fossil smartwatches. That's actually where I got my Skagen, was at a Fossil store. They had a little corner booth that had some of the other Fossil group watches. And so my wife saw me like really checking out that Skagen, and so she got me the Skagen Hybrid. It's so frustrating. It sucks all the fun out of what should be a really interesting accessory division. And I feel like, again, that Google wants to play it that way. They gave everything to Samsung. I just said the G word and now every pixel in my office just lit up. They wanted to give everything to Samsung to appease Samsung. Samsung didn't really get it done for them. The Tensor is a difficult recommendation to support in the grand scheme of SoC competition. They're obviously walking away from Samsung SoCs for the Pixel Watch 2. Like, this is such a dumb game to play. And it basically carved 3 years out of the Android ecosystem where they were focused on competition, and they walked away from supporting competition. I'm Gormlord. I feel like Samsung folks would totally agree with you. Gormlord saying, let's get Tizen back. Did Samsung watches really get better moving to Wear OS? I don't think Samsung fans would say that it was an upgrade over the experience that Samsung had before. This has been not great for everybody. And all it's done has been to entrench Apple's position as the It Just Works company. And Apple Watch is really good. As much as I am gonna pan an iPhone and I get really pissy about like iPad issues, and I'm a big fan of like the M series chips, but I hate the boxes that Apple puts them in. Like, Apple Watch is one of those things that like just slaps competition around when it comes to making a high quality premium computer on your wrist. I feel like if Google can't commit to supporting the diversity of their platform to really give Apple more competition to chip away at the different features, and how some people need more of a fitness tracker and some people want more of like a fancy Inspector Gadget communicator thing, like, then why pretend? Just kill it. Just walk away. Even with them buying Fitbit, they're now the second place seller in the United States, and I want to say with Fitbit and the Pixel Watch, they sell maybe a quarter of what Apple sells in terms of Apple Watches. They've killed more successful projects than that. That is such a small chunk of the market to worry about pretending to compete anymore. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Michael Corcoran, yeah, you absolutely need the dual screen technology that Mobboy has to be able to reliably get reasonably good battery life, but Google is so hostile to their partners, I'm going to bail too. I want this hardware in an RTOS. So that's a real-time operating system, like a lot of what Amazfit makes. Those watches run a very low power operating system. And that operating system has evolved. You now do have an application layer so that you can later add other programs to the watch. It's just really, developers aren't gonna support that. So you're not gonna see a ton of third-party interest unless this segment blows up. And there's some kind of cross-compatibility. But a lot of players are playing with this. Like the OnePlus watch is a bad example of doing an RTOS, but the Xiaomi and Poco watches, I think, were also sort of this similar streamlined RTOS. My favorites are the Amazfit. I really like the Amazfit strategy of like bringing in some really premium fitness tracking features at very competitive price points. But as soon as an Amazfit, like if I could get an Amazfit T-Rex with speech-to-text replies for notifications, I'm gone. I'm out of here. That's like 10 days of battery life. And that's with regular workouts every day, and sleep tracking, and GPS during your workouts, and the ability to like communicate with notifications on your wrist. And I only have to charge it every week. I'm gone. You can miss me with Fitbits. I'm out of there. Like in Juan sitting in the cafe of Wear OS watches, the second I hear rich notification support on an Amazfit, you're just gonna see this little pff, and this little dust cloud outline of Juan will settle to the ground, and there's gonna be a wand-shaped hole in the wall because I couldn't be bothered to wait for a door to open. I'm out of there. I immediately evacuate. Oh yeah, Gormlord, I saw that too. Small side note, Pebble is talking about making a compact phone. I don't think it's confirmed, but they're talking about it. That's not what I want. I think it's really frustrating because right now, they could make an amazing little phone. no one will buy it unless they've got $100 million to market it every year for about 3 years, and then consumers will start taking it seriously. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. Our market is so throttled by Samsung and Apple spending billions of dollars a year on marketing. No consumer is gonna understand why that might be a fun thing to play with or to own. But if Pebble came back and gave us the Pebble 2, the smartwatch that they promised us, that I had on pre-order, I had my money committed on a Kickstarter campaign. I was ready to, I was in the first batch of Pebble 2s that would have gone out. If we could just get that back, that would be incredible. But that's also not going to happen because they sold off most of their, I think they sold off most of their IP to Fossil, if I'm not mistaken. So it's so frustrating right now. But any company, I know I was saying Amazfit, but if a Pebble were to come back and hey, we've got a smartwatch, it's got heart rate tracking and it's got 5-day battery life, it's got an e-paper or e-ink screen, and it does speech to text, I'm out. If Garmin or Casio or Citizen, any of them said, hey, we're doing this, you can do this on the watch, and as soon as I hear rich notifications or speech to text, I'm out, I'm gone. And I don't care if anything else is like funky with the watch or a bunch of things are broken. I use this to track my steps. I use this to daily track my heart rate. It would be nice if it could give me like warnings on irregular heart rhythms. Like TicWatch has an optical sensor that kind of does it. I would prefer an ECG, but I'm not gonna quibble over that. As soon as I can talk to the watch to reply to a notification, I am gone. I'm not gonna mess with Apple Watch anymore. I'm not gonna mess with Wear OS anymore. I'm gone. Yep, copy cache every single time. Google will get the edge and then they'll let Apple wipe the floor with them. That's copy cache is saying, funny thing is Wear OS and Android Wear launched before the Apple Watch OS. If you have the ability to go back and pick up an old Android Wear watch, I kind of like it better. My first generation Asus Zen watch still charges. It barely lasts a day if you do nothing on the watch. And I mean like from sun up to sundown. The battery is not holding up well, but Marie got me that watch and it's kind of sentimental. I charged it up, I fired it up, I connected it again to my phone. It still sort of worked with Android 12. I haven't tried it on Android 13, but I'm flipping through the cards and you know, like, this is kind of better. It's a faster, at a glance, more streamlined interaction. I feel like we made Android Wear better than Wear OS. Wear OS has been cumbersome and kludgy and complicated and doesn't do things better. It just looks prettier. And that's such a bad, you're doing something for a quick little applet notification, something that just needs a moment of your attention. Prettier and slower animations and more complicated actions don't make for a better experience. So frustrating. Yeah, Nick Gay, Garmin is where it's at. Those Garmin watches are baller. And I would absolutely be sporting a Garmin if I could talk to it. Yeah, Scoop. Scoop. RIP Pebble time. I loved it. I still think it's the best. I still think it was the best wearable notification mini computer on your wrist. And I think they completely nailed, this is for little bits of information. This is for quick, at a glance moments that take the pressure off your phone. And I don't think anyone else has come close to beating that Pebble experience. The Apple Watch is a better computer on your wrist. Wear OS is a dumpster fire right now. Samsung Tizen, I feel, was a better computer on your wrist. But I don't think people really want a full computer on their wrist. I think they want to take the notification tray off of their phone and put it on their wrist for faster little glimpses of what's going on in their daily digital life. And then I think they want a bunch of fitness tracking capabilities. I think all the rest of it is kind of just distraction. And we don't want distractions on our watch. Our phones are the distractions. Our watches are our gatekeepers. Nothing has been better than the Pebble. Oh, Lampros, just like you swept the floor with my face on Tetris. Gormlord, I don't know anything about it. In fact, someone just sent it to me and I looked it up for the very first time. Pine64 makes a simple smartwatch that I'd like to try. Do you know anything about it? I want to play with that. And then there's Watchy. Is that what it's called? I think ETA Prime just did a video on it. It looks like a little Tinker kit where you compile the code and you can choose multiple operating systems to run on this tiny little board that then you can pick what enclosure you want to build it into and what kind of watch straps that you're going to put on it. I don't know much else about it other than that it exists. So, yeah, and Simon says no, I think a lot of people were in that boat. I left Wear OS because of the abysmal battery life. And I don't recommend Wear OS for people who say that they want better battery life, unless you're going to something like a TicWatch. Now I get 3 days of battery life, and that's amazing for a lot of Wear OS watches. Your Samsung, okay, you can match it, especially if you tinker with things like turning off the display and stuff like that. Sure, totally. But nothing like a Pebble. My Pebble was getting like 5 days on a single charge. My Qualcomm Talk was getting like 5 days on a charge, and my Amazfits can easily go a week on a charge. And the harder I hit them, like, you also have better low power modes and better like just watch pedometer modes. Like, it's silly. It's silly how much we're taxing a tiny little battery and a tiny little processor on something that fits on your wrist. Oh, Al Sabakli, am I the only one using Fitbit? 6.5 day battery life. No, I mean, like, my mom loves her Fitbit. I think Marie might end up going back to Fitbit. She's on the Pixel Watch now, and she's having to charge it like twice a day. And you can never find a good pattern, right? You can never find a good system for charging the Pixel Watch, because if you use it for sleep tracking and you use it for a workout, you're like constantly taking it off your wrist to put it on a charger to top it off so that then you can do the next activity, and then it has to be fully charged before you go to bed. Like, it's so frustrating. And it shouldn't be that way. So anyway, we should probably wrap this up. It looks like Solber and Aditya Nil are playing around, and I'm in spectator mode. Why don't I do this? Let me try one more time. I'll copy this. I realized I was doing little window this whole time, and we were just looking at an empty static Tetris board. Last call for a round of Tetris, and we'll start wrapping up the show here. Folks, thank you for indulging me in just sort of a funny, wacky way to kind of spend a couple hours. This isn't really going to be a great podcast, and I apologize to anyone. I'm still going to put out the audio version of this like it's an audio podcast, and I apologize for sort of how sporadic this conversation got, but just for my own mental health and for my own sake, I kind of needed one day off. So I'm going to do this. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, for showing up, and also for being the good tech neighbors that I know you are. So get out there, support your neighbors, support your community. A lot of challenges facing all of our communities these days, and I know you are all equal to the task. And we are now... Oh, I'm still not even in, so I'm still inspected. Type /play to join the game. So I'm going to wait until this round ends, and then we're going to wrap all this up. But thank you all so much. Take care. Be well. I love you all. And now, let's see. We've got Solber, we've got Aditya Nil, we've got Martanu. It's on. It's on like Donkey Kong, but it's not Donkey Kong because it's Tetris. Okay, I left a pause there just so that I could cut the end of the podcast. We're going to play one more round. Oh, and Barry, thank you. Actually, everybody, thank you for jumping in. Now, I'm gonna really give like my full attention to one game. Are we ready? I'm gonna push new game and go. Boop, boop, boop. I also realized I'd left the pre-show music on for the entire stream. So that was fun. Woo woo! Okay, we can go one more. I just saw, Donna Day and Gormlord pop up too. Well, I could do one more. I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to talk through hosting a podcast anymore. All right, new game? New game. We've got Some Gadget Guy, Solber, Martanu, Donna Day, and Gormlord. Let's go. All right. So yeah, Tetris, again, if you've never played Tetris, I feel it's important to remember that after you get to a certain position in the game, it just starts sending you garbage. So rounds can't last very long. They purposely clear out players after like a minute. And then I like to send a lot of garbage too, so you'll get a lot of garbage from me. See, I just got a Tetris from someone. So I would like to return that to whoever sent it to me. Right back at ya. Oh, that was dumb. Someone in here actually is sending some good garbage though. Not what I wanted to do at all. Super dumb. Oh, someone just sent me. Oh, that sucked. Okay, you guys might have me on this one. Gonna make me work for it. I think you might have me. Oh, Gormlord, you almost had me on that one, man. We want to do one more? I can do one more, and then I really do need to go. Good game. No, good game. That was a good game. We got down to a 1/10 of a second. I beat you by a 1/10 of a second. Tell me that was not a badass round. Because I'll say that was a badass round.
Oh. Oh, okay, I think I'm dead on this one. That was a terrible mistake. And now I just have a bunch of... Well, I might be able to clean this, but that's not ideal. I don't think I can get to the garbage that people sent me. I was really flow stating well for a while there too. Nope. Oh, Gormlord, you got me. One more? We went 2 minutes on that one. That's a really long round. Gormlord, that was good. Okay, Gormlord tiebreaker? Tiebreaker. All right, let's do one more. I love it when I get like a good challenge. My family won't really play with me anymore. So I have to like go looking for my Tetris conquests where I can find them. God, that was beautiful, Gorm. Yep, see? You're starting to stack now. So now, got me on center column, which is my least favorite way to play. Woo! Board's getting slippery. That just threw me off, and I think that might have just killed me. That's not what I wanted to do. Oh. All right, Gorm. I think you might have my number on this one, bud. Oh! Oh! I really thought you had me. Oh, I can't see. I need to, my eyes are drying out. All right, I've got to call it. I'm gonna quit while I'm winning. It's the worst. I would normally play, but I also just did 2 hours of weird almost. Thank you, everybody. That was really fun. I got to do this more often. Maybe like just make Friday random, anyone can jump into a game kind of game. I need a good list of games where you could just do stuff like this. Good, like a good app or a good tournament thing where people can jump in. Gorm, that was awesome, man. Thanks. Thank you for that. Oh, I loved it. All right, everybody, be safe, be well, take care. Catch you back next week.